Hey, beauty pros, welcome to Beauty Business Breakthroughs. My name is Shara, your guide to success in the beauty industry. In each episode, I'm going to be sharing my tips, tricks, and real life experiences. Plus, we'll bring in industry experts to drop their game-changing advice. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, get ready for practical insights that will elevate your beauty business. Let's dive in. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am really excited to be chatting with Joe Rockey. Thank you, Joe, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. I always love to talk to people, be able to help people out. And one thing that I promise I'll leave all of the listeners with here at some point in the episode, if really your call for way you want me to do it, is
Right.
I'm going to give everyone a little drill that you can do that will radically change your life so that you'll be able to overcome literally any situation where you feel limitations are holding you back. So it's one of the things I like to give all of the audience, let you know at some point that's coming, because it really is life-changing.
Actionable steps. Something that they,
what you're getting from me.
Awesome. So that kind of leads us into then, what are you? Who are you? What makes you unique and special? Tell us about your background.
Yeah, so I run Elite Business Conversations. And what our entire goal is to have your business run without you as the owner. Because so many of us out there are missing nighttime stories, are not seeing our kids' recitals, and it's really draining. And it's something that just doesn't need to be that way. And we live in a society where 30% of our US economy is privately owned companies that are baby boomers or Gen X. So said another way, 30% of the economy is going to have to go through this problem of getting someone else to take over my business. And the misconception that's out there is that it's like real estate. Every home will sell eventually, it just won't be at the price they want it. That doesn't exist that way in businesses. People don't buy your job. And if your business doesn't run without you, that's exactly what they would be doing. They would be buying a job. So what happens? Those businesses don't sell. The kids don't want them when mom dies. And next thing you know, all the employees are out and people aren't getting served anymore. Our entire mission is to make sure your employees don't lose their job because you either retired or died. That's fundamentally speaking what we do at Elite Business Conversations on a very broad level.
I love it. Yeah. And that is so true. I think that is 100% the case. I know personally, when you're providing a service, you are the business, you are the product per se. And you really hit home because my children, their father is an extremely knowledgeable tax and business consultant. And so knowledgeable that even though we are no longer together, I still have him do my taxes, right? I would not have anybody else do it. And so he has tried to, for the lack of a better word, pass on the business to the kids. And like you said, they don't want it. That's not their area of expertise. It's not something that they're interested in. They have skills and desires in other areas. And they're like, yeah, thanks, Dad, for wanting to pass down the business to me, but I don't want it. So what's going to happen when he goes on to the next life? The business goes away because he essentially is the business. He is the product, right? It's his brain and his expertise.
Yeah. So that's the challenge, because when you're selling a business, think of it like a light switch that also has a dimmer on it. The dimmer is the profitability of your business. You can turn that thing as bright as the sun and have the most profitable entity in the world. But if you are not able to toggle that switch, which means the business will live without you, the light will never turn on. The light switch will always be off, even though the dimmer setting is at the highest. And that is the reality. That is, I don't have a tax knowledge. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be that. I want to do something else. I don't have 20 hours of my life to give to your business. I don't have 40, 60, whatever the case may be. And the real answer is if it's more than zero, it's too much. Because the reality is people are doing so much in their own lives they don't have the desire to buy a job. And I'm not trying to tell this as a buzzkill or that you're doing this wrong in any capacity. This is everyday life. This is the reality. This is, like I said, why we exist. And we do a lot of cool ways of doing there, of making it so that your business will run without you. And the cool part is you can implement this at any stage. You can start up having the answers in place or do it at the end. Obviously, it's easier the sooner you do it and the smaller your business is, but
Mhm.
it can be implemented at any point. And that's one of the great parts of what I do. I get to look back at an entire room and say, you know what, you hairdressers still get to keep your career, your position. Yes, the owner's moving to Hawaii. That's going to happen regardless. But because they were willing to sit down with us at Elite Business Conversations, now you guys still have a job. Now the salon, sorry, I said the wrong word there, is still open. Saloon and salon, a little bit different. But you guys still get to do your job and what you love. And the cool part is that so many of my clients, because they get their lives back and they don't miss their kids' events, they fall in love with their business. Now that I
Mhm.
don't need to be here, now I like dyeing people's hair again. Now it's something that's cool. It's remarkable the mindset shift and the happiness, joy level that just alters like crazy. So yeah, so I didn't come here to just talk about my business the whole time. I'm
No,
glad you gave me the
I
chance to do
love
that.
that.
But
No, that's I'm truly amazing. I'm sitting here as you're talking, I'm envisioning and visualizing the listeners who are obviously like solo providers, or some of them may have a spa or salon, giving them the ability to then create that, for the lack of a better word again, that passive income where they can afford to retire. And that's something that I even talk about with my listeners in terms of, you mentioned not being burnt out per se. I talk to them about mental health and work life balance and self care and taking care of yourself, because what's going to happen is you end up working too much. You end up getting burnt out. Now you're not giving your 100% to your business, to your clients, to yourself, right? So your customer service is falling off. And I say customer service, meaning maybe how you deal with your customers, maybe your ability to communicate with them, things of that nature. So what you're talking about is building that structure of being able to enjoy what you do and not be like, oh God, Sally booked another appointment with me. Oh, I just really want to go home and sit on the couch and eat bonbons, right?
so you dive into that a little bit deeper, there's two issues that I have seen that have created that scenario. The first one is a societal thing that a lot of us entrepreneurs fall into, which is I have to be the one working. Like no one's going to work as hard as me. No one's going to be as good as me. I have to be the one working. Yeah, no, I get it. It's so common with us. The real answer is it's structural change can fix that. And the other issue is that we all go through phases in our business, regardless of the size of it. So this isn't even the dollar amount per se, but where income will fluctuate, whether we thought it was going to or not. I think the easiest example was COVID. No one saw that coming. Imagine having to go through a business where you were told you were unessential. Yet the mayor of Chicago went out and got all of her hair done every 3 days and shut every salon down in her city. Neither here nor there. The point being is that we don't know if revenue is always going to be constant. So there is a mindset when things are going good, I got to go to the max. And everything you just said about how it does eventually wear on you and hurt your product, then he puts you into the other side of that coin of, oh, now people aren't coming as back. I got to go even harder. And it can become a really vicious cycle, which again is natural by all human nature. We build our businesses for a reason. It's yes, we're going to take care of our clients, but it's also we're going to take care of our families. And
Right.
one of my clients here did exactly that. He built his business. He went out and he just kept putting more and more time into it because he felt what his job was to bring home enough income for the family. That happened for a couple of years, which then happened for a couple of decades and just kept going. Fast forward, his kids are now no longer at home and he got served divorce papers. Everything that he did to build this up disappeared because he basically spent his life at work and lost out on all these times and relationships. And like I said, ultimately, that's why we Elite Business Conversations exist, is to keep that from happening. Keep your
Right.
employees hired, keep that business alive. And this is the other element that so many people miss Every business exists fundamentally because the ownership wants it to. The
Hmm.
second they don't want it to, it is subject to die, whether it should or not.
Hmm.
That's something a lot of people miss. And as a result, every job only exists because ownership wants it to. So you think about that, you really have to be able to handle, why do I want to keep doing this? Because it becomes a very real question at certain points. Is this even worth it anymore? And for all various reasons, it's common. So don't feel like you're a bad person if you've had these thoughts before. It just means
Hmm.
you're a normal business owner like everyone else. It's part of this challenge of, I have a human brain and this is a machine at the end of the day I'm building here. We got to make some
Right.
synergy and some systems to have it go together.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. One of the things that you said that really resonated with me was me thinking that I have to be the one to work. I have to be the one to do everything. And that was very much so my mindset. Like I've been running my business pretty much on my own, where I might, you call it a subcontract, a project out here and there to somebody, little stuff, but for the most part, 95% was being done by me. And so I got to a point where I realized, look, my business is not able to grow
Mhm.
because I am doing everything. And because I'm doing everything, if you kind of the responsibilities, you've got your day-to-day operations, your administrative type tasks, the things that come up day to day, and the fires that you have to put out. And then there's the
Mhm.
things that you're working on in order to grow. In reality, what happens is you're not working on these things in order for you to grow as an individual, as well as you to grow as a business,
Mhm.
because you're spending, and I say you, meaning me, you're spending all of your time and energy and resources and knowledge and experience, right? Working on your day to day administrative tasks. So you have nothing left over for these things over here in order for your business and you to grow. And recently, within the last 6 months, I just slowly started bringing on part time, full time, gig type people to, okay, look, this is your one task. You work on this, and every time I need you, this is your calendar of tasks, whatever. And let me just tell you, that was the best decision
Mhm.
that I could have ever made, because not only did it free up my time to really focus on the things that I needed to focus on in order to grow individually as a person as well as a business owner, but it did also afford me the time to really be able to do the things that I was wanting to do. They were things that were on my to-do list to grow as a business. But then I'm hiring people who are experts in each field. So my business is naturally growing because I'm not the expert in that field. I was just doing good enough to get by.
Yeah.
I was just wearing 30 hats and making it work. I was just staying afloat. I feel like at this point, obviously there's still growth to be had, but I feel that took me a long time to learn that's what I needed to do. And I sit back and think to myself, very early on in the conversation with you, you said the earlier the better. And I sit back and I think to myself, dang it, Shara, if you would have done this a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever, imagine how much more successful you would be right now, how much more money you would have made, how much more opportunities you would have created for people. And so I do feel at some point I have created what you're talking about, where I don't have a job. I'm not clucking into work every day. And I could eventually sell my business or retire or whatever the case is.
Yeah,
So
and that first of all, congratulations on that.
thank
And what
you.
you described is so common for business owners.
Mhm.
It's just really in every industry, but specifically in the service front.
Mm.
I'm going to back up and just take a zoomed out view real quick. Every business, regardless of what your product is,
Mhm.
only needs to have three parts. And an argument can be made should only have these three parts, which
Okay.
are marketing, sales, and product and
Okay.
fulfillment, however you want to call that. Because every business at the end of the day is a money machine. That's what it
Mhm.
is. How we do the product element, it's different. So what a lot of business owners end up getting caught up into is the product side.
Mhm.
And they will like one or the other, but hate the third one.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
because there is no personality type that loves all three: marketing, sales, and product. It does not exist. The human brain is
Right.
not capable of that. So what happens? We all do the one we like, we
Most.
tolerate the other one, and we push off the third.
Mhm.
So with the results are, oh, now we're not getting enough people coming through the door. So now I have constant stress about whether or not we're going to be able to pay the payroll and pay the rent.
Mhm.
So we go through businesses. Every individual has these different blind spots. There's nothing wrong with them. There's not even a consistent one that people are more off put by than the others. So what happens is, using the alphabet as analogy, is we started our business off to do A, B, and C. Well, then we
Correct.
started doing a little bit of D, and then fast forward now, I think we do all the way down to H. But
Mhm.
because we never planned it out or wrote out a system of it, we really don't do anything at all with E. So as
Mhm.
the owner, I keep having, of my 300 hats, I keep having to go to E. And it's a thing I don't like doing. It is making me do it all the time, because if I don't do it, the whole thing's going to burn apart. How many of us have the plumbing that all the dye is going from, that we're washing the hair with, that's leaking on the floor? Guess what? You can have that red dye all over your floor and think that you're going to have your customers be happy. How many of us are plumbers? Who's fixing that? How does it need to be fixed? And problems like this are regular across the board in the world of ownership. But how do we put a system in place that everyone is incentivized to, A, make sure that your area is clean and tidy, that it's
Exactly.
appealing for the next customer to come in and sit
Right.
down? And how do you go about this? And that is the essence of what can give you back time. And on your point of having regret of not doing this sooner, that's the funny thing with time. We all need it to make things change and to become grow and
Mhm.
to transform
Mhm.
ourselves,
Mhm.
but we don't get it back. And there's no real value, aside from learning from it, of saying what could have been different. But there is
Right.
no, what I'm trying to say is, learning from it from a logical standpoint, very good from your past. Being emotionally invested in something that you cannot control anymore, not so much. And that's one of the things that I really get into, is that you can't be emotionally invested in something you can't change anymore. It literally already happened. If it's in the process of still happening, you can do something about it because it lives here in the present. But if it is in the past, it doesn't matter. You think about people who bring up like how their grandparents treated them 300 years ago or whatever the numbers are. It doesn't really matter. What matters is, how are you acting today and what are you doing about it? So just dwelling upon it and having negative repercussions, echoes, are really very unbeneficial to yourself, to your psyche, and it has ramifications throughout your whole life because it gets into all your relationships when it's all said and done.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love this. So, for obviously, for the sake of like my listeners and
Mhm.
followers, we've been giving them a lot of information. How can they do some of these things? What are some of the initial steps that they can do to create this type of environment for themselves?
Yeah. So the first thing you're going to want to do is sit down and say yourself, assuming it's a solely owned business. If you have other partners, you're going to do this as a group. But what's my blind spot? What's the part that I actually just hate doing? And then what I need to do is write out everything that we are actually doing, not supposed to doing, but what are we actually doing as a company? And what we're going to find is, because every client has this, there's going to be holes involved. When we sit back and change the lens, almost like a filter, we went from filming it in the natural light in our phone to now we switch it to the black and white mode. Why is there this weird looking off color spark? Oh, because that's something that our clients need us to do, but we aren't doing. So as a result, it's like a jet or a filter in a hot tub. It's sucking everything towards us, all of our time, energy, and spark of life. And it's not really where I want to be. I want to be over by the jets, not by where the intake valve is, for a little hot tub analogy there. So that's what's happening, is we get sucked to these spots. So what we really need to do is first find out what we are doing, then look at what we are missing, and then try to make actual game plans based upon tasks about what it is needs to be done. And you, in your explanation earlier, said something that was very great. You're paying people specifically for the task, not for the time it takes them to do the task. which is an infinitely transformational event. So a little bit outside of the health and beauty space, but a lot of my clients are restaurants. And as you can think of any restaurant you've been at, when you're at the bar, how often do you see the bartender pushing food in your run-of-the-mill bar? And the answer is normally very little. And the reason is because the incentivization system for your run-of-the-mill bartender is tips. And they almost always get tipped per drink rather than per food item. So for them, it is better to just keep handing out bottles and drafts than it is to get you to buy the wings. But the food is what makes the company more money. So unless you have gone through each position and figured out how to get everyone's incentives in line with what you want the incentives to be in line with, it's not going to work. So within our salons, we have certain events that pay us more. We charge a whole lot more to the wedding party that's coming through than the run-of-the-mill haircut. We just know it because they get all the extra works, all the fancy curls and all the extra dyes and stuff.
Right.
How do we go about getting more of them in here? Or how do we get about having the right people who can service those correctly? Because that's a different skill set than the just have some shears and hope things work out. So how do we go about in doing that? These are the types of questions that, as the business owner, should be your focus on the strategic level. If they're not, that's why companies like myself, we're far from the only one, but that's why companies like ourselves exist, Elite Business Conversations. And instead, what everyone's doing is running around going, where's our dye? Why are we out of supply? Why is your workstation so dirty? Things that really wouldn't be relevant if the person was incentivized being like, you know what? I'm paid based upon the amount of money that's made in this chair. I don't get paid hourly. I don't get paid salary. It's based upon the results. So these people keep coming back. Boom, boom. I got my repeat book of clients here. And then from the business standpoint, it's, do you trust people enough to do that? And how do you create your own systems there, which is its own whole kit and caboodle that we help people out with. That was obviously a very personalized conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this. So definitely tell us what you're to do. I think you had mentioned very early on, you were going to give everybody some actionable items to take with them. So please feel free to share.
Yes. So my disclaimer for this being in the podcast space, knowing that a lot of people are driving as you're listening to this, do not do this while you're driving. It's like legally feel required to do that, because what I'm going to call you to do is to put yourself in a sensory deprived place, meaning you close your eyes. There's not much noise around you, and temperature wise, it's relatively what you would prefer it to be. So a normal room setting. And I want you to close your eyes and just visualize every single thing that you can do and see it written out in word format, just swirling around you. And you see all of these different words of things that you can do and that you're capable of doing. Awesome. And see how magnificently large that list is. And then what I want you to do is sense that list becoming so big and massive, all the things I'm capable of doing, that it's just getting so big, it's just becoming a constant connection, that it's becoming a bar, like a bar of butter. And now, as all of those words that we are capable of doing has formed into this great sheet of butter, I want you to think about 3 to 6 that you enjoy the most. That if you only did these attributes or actions for the rest of your life, they can be all over the place. There is no right or wrong answer. They can be listening, being a good speaker, being willing to give guidance, running hard, working hard, whatever they are to you, think of them. And now just imagine, just like you were cooking, taking that blob of butter and putting it in a skillet and having it dissolve away. And all that are left are those 3 to 6 attributes and actions that you love doing. And anytime from here on in that you feel that there are limitations that are in your life that are just too hard to overcome, or it's a really challenging problem and I feel like it should have been solved easier, use one of those 3 to 6 attributes or actions and lean into them. They will take you out of any situation where you feel you have limitations. The joy of it is that they all are free. They are all within you. They are all things you already personally have a passion about and love. And as you go through life, look for opportunities to use those 3 to 6 things as often as you can. And 2 things will happen. First, the mindset of having limitations will go away. And second, you'll become a happier person. And these skill sets will become more and more prevalent throughout your life. So in terms of actionable items, listen to that and do it at least once a week. Go through it. There is no requirement that your butter keeps giving you the same 3 to 6. It is what you are feeling about now. Yes, you will find commonality that there will be 3 with you forever, but you will find that these are opportunities, and then you look for the opportunities in your day-to-day life. Everything around you will enhance, because ultimately what you have found is your favorite things to exercise in a relationship, regardless of what type of relationship, personal,
Absolutely.
professional, whatever, but it will come out. And because you are enhancing your relationships, you will enhance your happiness, which is the true answer to how do I become happier? You have
Right.
more quality relationships.
Absolutely. I love that. When you had first started telling us, I was sitting there thinking, oh, let me close my eyes. And then I said, no, I'll just wait. I'll replay this and I'll listen to it. I absolutely love meditation and just listening to things that help us to retrain the way that we think about ourselves, about relationships, like you said, no matter what type of relationship it is, about our business, our health, all of that kind of stuff. I literally listen to meditation every night before I go to sleep, and in order to go to sleep, I should say. And so I will definitely be relaxing at some point today and laying on my couch and closing my eyes and just try to think about the stuff that you said. So I appreciate that very much, Joe.
I'm glad I'm able to help because, like I said, for those that are willing to go through that process and do
Yeah,
it, your life does change. There's just no way around it. And it's like anything else.
absolutely.
If you put, we use the word time probably 40
Right.
times in this conversation today, but if you put the time into it, you get the results. And
Absolutely.
investing upon yourself is the key.
100%. I just literally had commented on somebody's post, yeah, maybe within the last 2 days. And she had said something about investing in yourself. And I'm like, 100% betting on myself was the best investment that I could have ever made. I look back at my transformation over the last 5+ years, personally, health wise, mentally, and it doesn't feel like much of a change when you're going through it. But when you look back 3, 6 months, a year, you're like, oh crap, like I really have changed. Like you really do start to see the change within yourself and whatever you're trying to improve upon, whether it's your personal life or your business or whatever, you're going to see the benefit, that investment. And it may not be right away, but you will see it. The other thing too is when you invest in yourself, by far your business is going to see benefit, whether it's directly or indirectly. Me taking the time to get myself healthy emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, all of that kind of stuff, my business has reaped the benefits from that. So
I,
100%.
absolutely. The other thing that you, all of us need to recognize as business owners out there is that's a very hard and scary thing to do, to invest in yourself and to go all in yourself. It is naturally going to have moments that are not awesome, that
Right.
you're going to question your selection. But being all in and doing that does revolutionize and change your life. There is no way around that. So I encourage everyone to know that it's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be the greatest thing ever. And we all know that because we all
Right.
can think of the greatest things ever. And unfortunately, the way our brains are wired, we're more triggered to remember negative things than the positive. But
Right.
constantly going out and doing regular practices such as meditation are one of those things that really keeps things in perspective. And it ultimately is the best pathway to freedom, both personally and economically, that you ever could want.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me today, Joe. For my listeners and followers who are interested in getting in contact with you and learning more about you, can you tell us how they can reach out?
Yeah, the best way to do that is going to be at Elite Business Conversations, our website, which is elitebusinessconversations.com. Pretty straightforward there. And then, like I said, what we'll do is we'll have an individual conversation about how we can make your world, your business work without you in it. And it's a
Absolutely.
very great thing. We are specifically focusing on that time element. The thing that you can't buy is what we want to give you. So in a way, I am selling time, but
Right.
really what it is it's for you. So you never have to miss a good night's story. You never have to miss another play recital. You never have to have that tension of driving 500 miles an hour, hoping you get there on time. You
Right.
will have that stress out of your life, not to mention the knowledge that you'll never have to fire your employees if they don't deserve it.
Absolutely. I love it. Thank you again for joining us today, Joe. And for those of you who are listening, go find him on Elite. Wait, tell me again, Elite Conversations, Elite Business Conversations, and that is plural.com.
Mhm.
All right. Awesome. Thank you again.
That's a wrap for today's Beauty Business Breakthroughs. I hope you found these insights valuable and actionable for your beauty business. Remember, success in this industry is within your reach. If you're hungry for more and ready to take your beauty business to the next level, consider joining our Get Fully Booked Accelerator program. We are dedicated to helping beauty professionals like you achieve extraordinary success with strategies that can take your business to 10K per month and beyond. Simply send us a direct message on Instagram, Lux Beauty and Body Co., with the word success, and we'll provide you with all of the details on how you can be a part of this game-changing program. Your journey to a thriving beauty business starts now. Thank you again for tuning in, and until next time, stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep making those beauty business breakthroughs.